B Arts have invited us to run a workshop celebrating women of the waterways at their Etruria Canals Festival. We had a site visit there and we found out that some of the materials that were processed at the mill were originally gathered by women on the north coast of France. And that theme of gathering really resonated with us. So for the workshop that we delivered, we asked people to share their stories of gathering or of the women that they know.
I studied industrial archaeology, and from that field, you know, you've got limited openings really. And the job came up here, which at the time was the assistant keeper of social history. But the remit was to really look after the museum, the Etruscan bone and flint mill. But really they needed someone to sort of bring that together and to start to create a museum from it. It was less common, I think, for a woman to be in that sort of field. And when I came here, all of the volunteers were men. And the people that I was dealing with were all men. Though it was very noticeable that as you would walk in to go and order, you know, some nuts and bolts and things like that, that you'd be sort of stared at, and the impression was that of course you didn't know what you were talking about, you know, but I did. So I feel a little bit that there was a sense of trying to prove my worth as a woman in a man's field.
I'm actually a connector of people, and I gather people. I do a project called Art Lunch, which I've run for 8 years, and that has gathered creatives together of all kinds of creatives. We've gathered and shared food together, and we've supported each other, you know, and there's been collaborations that have happened from that.
I gather materials, of which, you know, clay is the main one. And I still search for clay everywhere I go. So sometimes I would, when I was traveling somewhere, I would just find a kilo and tuck it into my backpack and fly it over to England just to fire it and see what bits of the earth around the world look like or feel like. That action of gathering and processing is ultimately about understanding where we are, you know, what we stand on, what makes up the environment and the landscape that we experience on a daily basis.
In 1991, we had the official opening. So as part of that opening weekend, we had our first Canal Festival, and that went very well. So we thought, well, we'll do it again next year, and we'll call it the Etruria Canal Festival. And that's how it started. And it grew each year, and it is what it is now, which is more community-based, which is lovely. I feel it's a legacy, something that I was part of and helped to bring into creation, has grown and is still relevant today. You know, and the local community have embraced it, which is what it should be. It's their museum, it's their heritage.